Good morning and welcome to Watching the W. I'm your host, Doug Green. I'm without my ride or die, Daniel Hancock. This morning he couldn't make it with us. So we're going to be riding solo this morning. So we are going to take a look at the first week here in the WNBA. As always, we are part of the Four Frequency Sake Network. That network is presented by Durham Remodeling, Ryan Allison Tattoo, and Jared Zook Country Financial. So we're going to take a quick look here at the week that was in the WNBA. We're going to start by taking a look at all of the rookies that have been playing, or at least some of the rookies that have played here in the first week, just to see kind of how they got started. That seems, since that is kind of one of the big draws here of the WNBA this season. So let's start with Miss Caitlin Clark. She's the one who kind of she's the straw that stirs the drink here with these. She's played in 3 games this week. Mixed, we'll call it mixed results, I think is the most fair way to say this, but we've seen progression throughout the week. First game there on Tuesday night against the Sun, a very good team. She didn't do quite so well. I think she finished with 20 points, but she also had 10 turnovers. It wasn't a great performance. We gave her a C- on our report cards. We've been doing rookie report cards for each of these games for kind of some of the bigger names in this rookie class. We gave her a C- kind of for that first one. Second game was a little bit better. She had less points, but more assists. I think she was like 10-6 that game, or 12-6, something like that. Played much better, much fewer fouls as well. And then yesterday against the Liberty, probably was her best game of the season. 22 points, played a lot better, just looked more comfortable on the court. And what you're going to see when we talk about kind of all these rookies is there's kind of that natural progression as well. So as she kind of went through those first couple of games, you could kind of see her getting her sea legs underneath her, becoming more and more kind of comfortable with her teammates and finding her place against the competition as well. Number 2 pick, Cameron Brink's only played in 2 games, but she's played pretty well. First game, she popped up a couple of threes, which was kind of surprising. Yesterday, I believe she had like 5 blocks, but the offensive end of things was down a little bit. So between the two, doing okay, but not like none of the rookies are coming in and setting the world on fire. We'll talk about that when we get down to kind of talking about the adjustments they need to make. But just kind of as just a general statement is they're all kind of coming in, they're all progressing, and they're all learning. But there's definitely a learning curve for all of them coming into this. But Cameron Brink looked a little bit better offensively in game 1, looked a little bit better defensively in game 2. But both of those games, she got into quite a bit of foul trouble, which is her tendency, but she really needs to clean that up because they need her on the floor. Third rookie we're going to take a look at is Angel Reese up in Chicago. First game, again, was a little bit better. I would say probably a little bit better than Caitlin Clark's. But again, with Angel and Cameron aren't being asked to run the offense the way that Caitlin is. So that's kind of the difference between kind of those 3. Angel played a very good game first game, but again, got into the foul trouble. But I think she had 12 and 7 in that first game, and then she played much better yesterday. First game, she struggled with her free throws quite a bit. I think she was only 2 for 8 from the line. Yesterday, she was much better, 6 for 8, but her 2 misses came in a critical stretch in the fourth quarter. She talked about that in the post-game conference, press conference as well, how she needs to, make sure that she's making those when the situation calls for her to step up and make those. Yesterday, she only had 6 rebounds, but they were all offensive. In fact, I texted DJ, my business partner last night, and I was like, I'm not sure how to grade her because her goods are very goods and her bads are very bads, and I don't know kind of where to kind of put her. I think ultimately we ended up giving her a B- last night. Could have went a C+, but it was very kind of, like I said, the highs are highs and the lows are lows, and that's common for a lot of these rookies. Whoever we are, whether we're talking Rakea Jackson or whether we're talking, any of the other ones that are playing, Alyssa Peely, any of the other rookies that are playing here, the goods are very good because you can see why they were drafted, and you can see that they deserve to be in the league. But the bads are very bad because they need that experience and those reps. And it's tough. It's a tough transition. We talked about this. We talked about this last week with Danny too. Is you're essentially got 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks. You've only got a matter of weeks from the end of the Final Four, the end of the NCAA women's tournament, to the start of the season. The NCAA tournaments ended the first weekend in April. Here, we're not even to Memorial Day yet. Memorial Day is next weekend. And all of a sudden, you've went from being a college amateur to a professional basketball player with a training camp with only like a 15-day training, not even 15 days, like 12-day training camp in there. So there is an adjustment period for a lot of these players to get used to the speed, to get used to the physicality, to just get used to playing with different people. That's why you'll see, like I talked about on Threads, as we were watching these games, the long outlet passes that Caitlin Clark likes to throw, they seem to be just a step ahead of her teammates because she's not used to their pacing yet, and they're not used to her passes yet. Same thing with Angel Reese, making sure that she's in the right place when the ball comes off the rim for the rebounds. It's just a matter of familiarity, and they just don't have that. You can say that about any of the 13 women who were drafted and are playing. This is their and playing for their first season. It's going to take them time. And a lot of the scuttlebutt around online has been, hey, they expected, Caitlin Clark to come in and average 30 points a night and drop 3 logo threes, and that's just not happening. And that wasn't an expectation that should have been set. To be quite honest, it's not fair to her. It's not fair to the rest of the league. It's really not fair to the rookies. Just like on the NFL side, where you see, you don't expect a standout wide receiver to come in and dominate week 1. He has to get used to that game speed. Same thing with NFL quarterbacks. We're going to talk about that a lot here in the fall with Caleb Williams and how he's, one of the best quarterback prospects we've seen since Peyton Manning or Andrew Luck. He's going to take at least half a season to figure out the NFL game. It's just faster. It's just more complicated. And same thing with these women. It is a faster game. It is a more complicated game. It is a more physical game. And this is, in a league full of vets that have been doing this a long time. I know everybody wanted to kind of trash Diana Taurasi, saying, Caitlin Clark's got some learning to do, but she's right. There is an adjustment period for all of these women coming into that. It doesn't mean that they're not going to get there. In fact, I'm very confident in the fact that all 13 of these women are probably going to be in the league for a while just because of their talent level. But there is an adjustment period to it, and you have to give them that adjustment period. If you're going to give that to the guys in the NBA, in the NFL, in Major League Baseball, you have to give that to them on the WNBA side as well. And a perfect example, basketball to basketball, is Kobe White for the Bulls. Kobe took forever. It's felt like 3, 4, 5 years to get into to figure out the league. But once he figured it out this year, man, he was gangbusters. And there were a lot of people even a couple of years ago who were like, he's a bust. We need to trade him. We need to move on from him. He's just not that dude. And then the last couple of years, you've seen him take a couple of massive steps forward where he figured out the speed of the game. His ball handling got better. He started knocking down more shots, and he started passing a little better because he was more used to his teammates. We're going to see that same thing here with this rookie crop. We're just not there yet. We're a week into this season as opposed to year 4, year 5, or year 6 for Kobe. So, that's what we're looking at. So just be patient. We've seen the flashes, all right? We've seen the flashes. We've seen the great vision from Caitlin Clark. We've seen the logo threes already. We've seen Cam Brink with her multiple blocks in a game. Angel Reese last night, her first bucket was a putback on a 3-point play that put her team ahead. That's the kind of stuff that we've seen them do in the NCAA. Just haven't had the opportunity yet here in the WNBA. That's where we're at. They're going to do those things. They have the capability of doing them. They need to be in the position to do them. You're not going to get, a game-winning putback every single time, every single night out. So you have to be ready. They're going to get there. They're just not there yet. Haven't had the opportunity. Give them the chance for the growth to do that. But that is where we are in terms of them. Camila Cardozo still hasn't played yet. She was the number 3 overall pick. She's still injured. She's still going to be out of several more weeks. Nika Mule, who plays for Seattle. She's the last of the rookies, her and Camila. I think of the last two that haven't played yet. Camila's for an injury. Nika is because of visa issues. I'm still not quite sure why they haven't figured that out. By this point, we're a week into the season after, training camp and drafting and all that. They need to have that figured out. All right, so that's what we're looking at on our rookies. If you have any questions about those or have any comments, please let us know all about those as well. Jumping onto the vet side. Now, vets have been around for a while, and no surprise, the big names are big naming out there so far. So we want to kind of run through what we've seen already this season by some of the biggest names in the WNBA. We'll start with Asia Wilson of the defending champs, the Las Vegas Aces. Opening night, she puts up 30 and 14 just to solidify herself. That says, hey, I'm still a bad mamma jamma out there. She's still going to be, one of the best players in the league, and came out opening night and said, yes, I'm still here, and I'm still going to be an issue the rest of the season. Next up, DeWanna Bonner moved into 5th place all-time on the all-time scoring list, passing her ex-wife to get to that point. She is somebody, as I've been watching these games, she is somebody whose game I have fallen in love with. I love the passion that she plays with. She seems to come out and just really, she's really an amazing player. Somebody whose game I was not familiar with. So she's somebody I've quickly become a fan of watching her through these first 3 games here of the season. I say 30 because our next bullet item then is Stewie's 30-burger yesterday against the Fever. No, it was not yesterday. It was Thursday night. She put up 30 and it made it look easy against the Fever. Fever's a young team. Let's just be honest. Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Edwards are their 2 best players, and they are the 2 number 1 picks back-to-back years. They are going to take a while to get there, like we said in the prior segment, but they're still young. They're still trying to figure everything out. So when you have somebody like the reigning MVP and Breanna Stewart, you're going to see them be able to do some bigger numbers against them because they're very good. And then we saw that again yesterday too, where every member of the New York Liberty starting unit all scored in double digits and all had, I think, at least 1 3-pointer as well. So again, and the Fever played much better yesterday than they played Thursday night. So it's just a matter of if the super good teams like the Liberty and the Aces, they come in against those bottom teams. They do what they're supposed to do. They come in, they crush them, and they move on because that's what you're supposed to do as a good team, and that's what they've been doing. So that's another outstanding game from Breanna Stewart. Laisha Clarendon had our season's first triple-double with 11, 10, and 10 versus the Dream. 4th woman in Sparks history with a triple-double in there as well. So that was impressive. I don't remember what night that was, but that was earlier. I think that might have been opening night. In fact, I think it was because I think the Sparks have only played 2 games. So impressive opening outing there as well. Last night, jumping into last night, Arika Ogunbowale lit up for 35 against the Sky. The Sky did end up winning that game, but it was she did drop 35, and then she ended up getting engaged after the game last night as well. So big night for Arika Ogunbowale as well. And then the late game that I actually didn't get to see, Kalia Copper dropped 38, her career high against the Dream. Late night game last night. I've done my best to try and catch all of the games throughout this season so far, this first week. I've gotten almost all of them, bits and chunks. I think there were a couple of 9 o'clock starts that I might have only got like a quarter or a couple of plays just because they're just too late of a start for me. I'm not going stay up that late. And obviously, if my family needs to get up in the morning, so I'm not going to stay up in the morning on the TV late at night. So that is why we won't catch all of those. But we got a good feel of kind of how the league is going right now. If there are any other big games that I missed, certainly shout those out. But those were some of the big ones that kind of caught my attention as well. Tuesday, let's jump back to, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, on the business side of the house. There are a bunch of partnerships that were announced, right, as the season kicked off. Actually, I believe it was Monday. So first one up was with Dick's Sporting Goods. The Dick's will now provide a line of little girls' clothing that is based upon the WNBA. So that is an amazing thing. Allows you to kind of build your brand and keep that perpetuating going forward with the young women as girls grow up. They're going to grow up, and the NBA is going to be more kind of a forefront in their mind as well. There was a deal with Skims announced as well. They will be the official underwear of the WNBA. You've probably seen the commercials for that already if you watched any of the games. Those were there. I did see the Skims logo was superimposed on the Liberty floor during the Fever game, the Liberty and Fever game yesterday. I'm sure we'll see more of that as well. And then CarMax is going to be another title sponsor. In fact, they're sponsoring the tip-off to the season as well. And you'll see them as well as we go through this as well. And then it's something we talked about with Danny last week, the chartered flights that they announced. Those are all supposed to be starting Tuesday. So starting Tuesday, every team will fly charter the rest of the season. So that's really a great thing to see there. All right, next thing up on the docket, we want to talk about a little bit of controversy here in the W this week. We had on Friday it was announced that the city of Las Vegas was going to sponsor the Aces players. Each one was going to get $100,000 for the season to promote Las Vegas. Then yesterday it was announced that this donation, the sponsorship, is under investigation by the WNBA. And what they want to make sure is that it doesn't interfere with the salary cap numbers, is what I read. I saw somebody this morning, I think they make kind of the best point. I saw it on, I can't remember if it was Instagram or Threads or somewhere, but I saw a woman talking about it, and she was like, Las Vegas is not a city, it's a brand at this point. And we all know that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, yada, yada, yada. We all know about Vegas. And that's basically what it boils down to. So if you're going to take Skims' money, if you're going to take Dick's money, you're going to take CarMax money, you're going to take Nike money, Under Armour money, then you got to be willing to take the Las Vegas money with that. So I am with the players. I want to see them get paid like that. I think that's great for the league because now other cities should step up and say, I understand on the precedent side of now you're asking 11 other cities to put out $1.2 million for teams. And then that becomes a look, doesn't it? If say all of a sudden say we're gonna pick on Golden State because they don't have any players, they're not gonna start till next year. But let's say Golden State doesn't feel like they can afford an additional $1.2 million in their city budget all of a sudden next year. That's a bad look. And then it becomes a recruiting thing too, doesn't it? Hey, do I want to sign with Las Vegas and get an extra $100,000 where if I sign with Golden State or Atlanta or another team that doesn't, or another city that doesn't want to pay those players that same kind of number, is that, that becomes a recruiting thing when it comes time for free agency. So it's a competitive thing, but I can see where the league wants to make sure. I'm sure the league's happy about it, but what they don't want to do is they don't want to set a precedent and open a can of worms that makes it difficult to legislate down the road when you're going to add on 2 more teams and then additional, and in case that another city doesn't want to do it, or if all of a sudden, Vegas is $100,000. Well, what New York's got deeper pockets. They say, all right, well, I'm going to pay them all $1 million. Now we've got discrepancies all over the place. I understand why the WNBA wants to be smart about this, because you want to make sure that it's an equal playing field for everybody. So I don't think they're necessarily going to take the money away, but I think what we're going to see going forward is I think that what will happen is they're going to cap it, or they're going to say, all right, if you're going to do it, you're going to do X, Y, Z. You can't go over this dollar amount, or it has to be within this dollar amount. If you participate, you get this. If you don't participate, you either you get something else, or you don't get something else. So they're gonna make sure that things are equitable across the board. I think that's what the WNBA's thought process here is, which is smart business wise going forward, because you don't want to be kind of screwing that up and messing with those things going forward. And this is one of those places where I really do kind of wish Dan was here to get his kind of take on it. But that's kind of my thoughts. Is I think that they are trying to make sure that they don't want to establish precedents down the road that they can't uphold as they expand. Talking about expansion and going forward, again, Tuesday, opening night tip-off, it was announced the Golden State's team name. They are going to be called the Valkyries going forward. I love that. It's a black and purple color scheme. There was somebody who put out explaining what the logo all means. I love the whole thing. Thought it was great. It's great for the league. It's a great name. It's a great color scheme. Lots of players are really into the fans are really into that. The fans in Golden State, they had a rally yesterday. There were tons of people out there. The merch is already getting out. We saw that. We saw Holly Rowe posted something on her Instagram wearing the new gear. So it's really great for the league going forward. And obviously then, like we said last week, they announced that Toronto is joining the fold as well. And then the commissioner, Kathy Engelbrecht, also mentioned yesterday on the Fever of Liberty broadcast that in an interview that she did with Holly Rowe, that the league wants to get to 16 teams, which I think is pretty good, because then you can have four team divisions in there. 12's all right. 14's a little funky in my mind. I think obviously they want to get to 16. They just need to figure out what those next two teams are going to be. But again, as I said, with all of the Vegas playing things, then you've got different things going forward. You want to make sure that you, as the other teams kind of come in the league, you've got the rules kind of set for that stuff in there as well. So let's talk about a couple of other things that have kind of been big this week. Obviously, jumping back to the rookies, something that I should have covered early on up there. I wasn't quite sure what to do with her, so we'll just kind of talk about her now. Kate Martin, obviously, was the big thing with that. I think actually that broke on Monday as well. So let's back that up. We were lucky enough to catch that. If you happen to see the viral video of Kate Martin reacting to Lisa Bluter's retirement announcement. We were lucky enough to be on that call. We happened to catch that video. We posted that out. Make sure that you check that out. We've got that everywhere: Facebook, YouTube, Threads, Instagram. It's everywhere to check that out if you want to watch her reaction to that. Then yesterday, Miss Martin came out and she played really, really well. I was not expecting her to play that early in the season, and two that early in a game. I was totally floored to see her out there playing in the first quarter. She ended up playing 20-something minutes. I think that was because of the injury to Chelsea Gray, but she came out and she held her own. She scored her first NBA bucket, which was a triple in the corner. We've all seen the meme by now of her first block and Kelsey Plum losing her mind in the background. Kelsey Plum shouted her out on a in-game interview. Came out, played really well. But did she light it up for 50? No. But she did a bunch of little things. She did exactly what they asked her to do. She did that role player job. She came out, she set screens, she made good passes, she made smart plays, she played well defensively. She guarded her opponent. She did exactly what she was supposed to do. And that's why she got our first A in terms of those rookie report card grades. Just because of how well she played. We've gotten a lot of kind of questions on that on threads of how we grade those rookie report cards. What my response to that has been is basically it's production versus expectations. So I wasn't expecting Kate Martin to play, or if she was going to hit the floor, it was going to be, garbage time those last kind of couple of minutes in a blowout. That was when I expected her to play. I did not expect her, like I said, I did not expect to see her in the first quarter. I did not expect her to play 20-something minutes. And then on top of that, she played really well on top of that. That's why she gets an A. Flip that around to the C- that we gave Caitlin Clark on opening night. Yeah, we had a little bit more expectations for her, and she had 10 turnovers, and then like 4 personal fouls. So, that's how we're kind of balancing this thing. It's an individual thing. So, the grading is different for everybody. The expectations for Kate Martin are different than they are for Caitlin Clark. Same thing for Cam Brink and Angel Reese and Camila when she plays, and all those other players. All of them are going to be based upon their individual kind of expectations. And we'll see this come out. If Caitlin Clark comes out and all of a sudden starts averaging 30 points a week next week, we're going to adjust those expectations up to match that production. So that's going to be kind of what we're looking at. So just kind of be aware of that as we are talking, as you see those things kind of get passed around on social media. I do want to say thank you to everybody who has been following us on Threads. It's a great community over there. It's a great basketball community, both on the men's side and on the women's side. But folks have really kind of taken to us on the Threads side of the things. Really want to thank folks for that. Monday morning, when we started, we had 41 followers on Threads. When I looked this afternoon, we're at like 270. So we have basically got 7 times more followers than we did in a week. So we really want to thank folks for jumping on board with us, coming along for the ride, interacting with us. Really appreciate that. If you're watching this, thank you for watching on YouTube. Make sure that you hit the notification bell and subscribe there. Catch us on the Apple, Spotify, and Pocket Cast as well on the podcast side of things. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Under Watching the W, we are also you also see all the posts double posted on our parent company for fantasy's sake. You'll see all the posts over there as well. Make sure that you go and give all those folks a follow over there. All right, last thing we want to do before we check out is we're going to take a quick look at the standings. There's nothing surprising, especially after the first week, but I did want to kind of show kind of where we are after the first week, just so we can just to take a look at where things are. So, no surprises right at the top. Liberty is 3-0. Vegas is 2-0. Nobody's surprised that Connecticut Sun's 2-0. Everybody's kind of right where they thought we'd be with that. The Lynx are 2-0. I had them as one of my top 5 teams. I actually thought that they were going to be pretty good this year. It might be a little bit surprising for some other folks, but that's what we're looking at. The Mercury, Sky, and Wings and Dream are all 1-1. Mercury's probably the surprise out of that. They did get kind of picked off early. But I think that eventually probably what will happen here in the next week is we'll see them kind of slide up ahead of the Lynx, and they'll take that number 5 spot. I think that they are a good team, especially once Brittany Griner comes back. I think we'll see them kind of hit another gear as well. The Sky and Wings kind of played each other. They split that series. Now going forward, I'm kind of interested to see kind of how they are against kind of other teams. We'll see kind of how they kind of react to the rest of the league. But I think that they are a couple of very good teams that we'll keep our eye on as well. And then in the 0-2s down here with the Mystics, the Sparks, the Storm, and then the Fever are 0-3. The Mystics, I love the way that the Mystics play. If you get a chance this afternoon here at 2 o'clock Central, so about an hour and a half from now, drop in and watch that game. They may not win that game, but they fight everybody hard, man. Their first 2 games were, I believe, the Liberty and the Mercury, I believe. But they fought them both. And they were leading in the game for a good chunk for a little bit in both of those. For a team that maybe wasn't as doesn't have the firepower as clearly as like a New York or a Vegas. They're a really tough team, and I like watching them play. They may not beat you every night, but they're going to fight you every step of the way in there. So I really kind of love that about them. Sparks, I got a chance to see them yesterday. They have some good pieces. They need a little bit more cohesion, I think. I think the fact that also they've got two rookies kind of in their main rotation is a little bit of that. Obviously, with Brink and Rukia Jackson, those are going to be, it's going to take a little bit of time for that team to gel. I haven't seen the Storm play yet. Again, those late night games. I'm going to try and make sure that I see them against the Mystics this afternoon, just so I can say I've kind of checked in on all 12 teams. And we've seen a lot of the Fever. Again, we talked about them a lot at the top. They're a young team, but they're putting themselves together. The core is good. Now it's just a matter of experience and learning to do things the right way and learning how to win. Teresa Weatherspoon, the Sky coach, talked about that too. Is the team, you have to learn how to win as you get there, as you get to the kind of those stages. And we saw that in game 1 to game 2 with the Sky. In game 1, they were up in the fourth quarter. They kind of let it slip away. In game 2, they were down, and then they had to rally and come back, and we saw them do that. So that was kind of a learning experience. The Fever haven't quite gotten there yet. They're going to get there. They just haven't gotten there yet. And they've had a tough opening schedule here. And some folks said that doesn't do the league wasn't doing them any favors. The league might not have done them any favors, but the league was doing itself a favor because they knew all eyes were going to be on Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. And so what they did was they said, here's some of our best teams in the league. So you may get the person that you're tuning in for might come in and you might see them get stomped, but you're going to see that the rest of the league is pretty damn good. So playing Liberty twice, they played the Sun. I think they've got the Aces on deck this week at some point. So in that first kind of 2 weeks, you're going to see kind of the best of the best of the league through the Fever's eyes. And you can see not only how good the rest of the league is and kind of how far the Fever have to go to get there. But it's one of those things of, I think they'll get there. It's just a matter of, again, repetitions and just time together. Even the Liberty, I mean, we saw that in the preseason. Liberty lost to the Sky by 50, and they're a veteran team. They've been playing together for a while. So sometimes you're just going to have that, that they're just, you might have an off night or things just aren't clicking for whatever reason. But I think the Fever is going to get there. I think it's just a matter of repetitions with that. Speaking of players that you have discovered kind of going along the way, those are I've got a few of those that I've kind of enjoyed watching coming into this league that I didn't have any idea about when we even started this podcast. And I knew that was going to happen. There's always going to be players as you start an interest in a new thing. There's always going to be things that pop up. I don't call them second tier players. But they're not the superstars. They are other folks that aren't the household names that you kind of learn about, and you're like, oh, I really like this person. We talked about this with Danny last week as well. Dewana Bonner is somebody who this week I was just captivated by how she plays. We saw her kind of strike that one pose when she kind of broke the scoring record. She was somebody I was like, I love her. Think that I want to follow her career. Same thing with Marina Mabry from the Sky. You'll find that I love a three-point shooter. That's why I love Steph on the men's side. She was somebody, she's just tough and hard-nosed and knocks down those threes, and she was somebody I thought was great. Katie Lou Samuelson from the Fever, she's somebody I enjoy watching. Obviously, she's got an adorable little girl. They're always talking about her coming back. This is her season back if she took last season off for the pregnancy. She's somebody who I've kind of enjoyed watching play here early on in this season. So there's always going to be people as you go through this. You come into the league with expectations and favorite players and people that you kind of know. And then as your fandom grows, you learn to find other folks that you enjoy as well. Another case in point, Ray Burrell from the Sparks. Didn't know much about her. Was in on a press conference with her early on in the week. Found her to be quite an engaging young woman. Thought she was great. Great interview. Became a fan of hers as well. So as we go through here, you're going to see more and more players that are kind of pop up, and we're going to kind of try and name check as we go through as well. So that's going to do it for this week. Hopefully, Danny will be back with us next week on Memorial Day weekend. But that's going to do it for us this week. So we want to thank everybody again for not only watching this show, checking us out on the podcast, on Threads, Facebook, Instagram, wherever, all the social media platforms. Make sure you subscribe to the Substack for fantasysake.substack.com. Make sure you hit all of those as well, just so that you can make sure that you are in tune with all of that. Again, if you want to sponsor this show, we are more than happy to take your money. Make sure that you reach out to us. We're more than happy to discuss those things as well. Make sure that you like and subscribe everywhere that you can. Other than that, we will be back next Sunday as well. Yep. Terrence, we talked about that as well. But again, production versus expectations is what we talked about with those. So yes, they are a little bit inconsistent, but they are kind of individually based. So what we are looking at for player A is going to be different than what we're going to be looking at for player B. So that's where the inconsistencies come from. But thank you for your question with that. So again, before we check out, thank you everybody for watching, and we will see you guys next time. See you next week, and enjoy all of the games this week.